All right, guys. So you may notice if you're watching this, if you just listen, you may not have noticed, but I'm not wearing glasses. That is because this old dog can learn new tricks. I recently started wearing contacts. That's also why you can see in my left eye why there's still blood in my eye, because last week I couldn't get the left one out. Almost dug my eye out of my head getting the contact out. But I figured it out now. So I know how to do it. I'm a pro. I got it. No big deal. Anyways, what I want to talk about today, and I've gotten questions about this in the past, is how many of the workouts in a given week do I create, and how many have I taken from other sources? Because I've said it many times, I take workouts from all over the place. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I personally, on that. Because anybody can create some good workouts. It is how the pieces fit together that make a good program. And that's why I've said before in Old Devil's Details, you don't know if a program is good or bad after a week or two. It really takes, I think, about 3 months to get a feel for, is this a well put together program that is sustainable, that's going to make me better over time, and is not going to be too much or too little. It takes time to feel that out. And I think this week is a perfect week to use as an example for that. But a little while back, there was some little bit of controversy because of the programmers I listened to. I think it's Coach L from, I think he's with Training Think Tank now. It looked like he had taken a workout from Taylor Self, who does some programming, and Taylor was giving him shit about it. And I was thinking when I heard this, like, who cares? I mean, you should be flattered that he took one of your workouts. That doesn't mean he's not a good programmer. He could be worse than you. He could be better than you. Because any one workout is how it fits into the bigger picture. And I'll just get right into it with you guys. So for myself, and I've talked about this from the very first video I did, on any given week, I start with the strength day. So on Mondays is always kind of our designated strength day. That's the day I always make first. And that is a day that I usually make myself. There are a lot of basic principles on how many reps, how many sets, with what percentages work for various lifts. So that's all been well established over time. So I'm not saying I'm inventing that, but I tailor it due to the experiences I've had and what I think works specifically for our group, because I think, frankly, percentages at certain reps, it needs to be a little bit more than a lot of what CrossFit does. And it's a little bit less than what a lot of the European programs do, is how I think it is sustainable. Kind of that minimum effective dose. What's enough that we get stronger, but I don't wear you down year over year of doing this. So I always create the strength portion myself on Mondays. But then I'll plug in the next anywhere from 2 to 4 workouts out of this spreadsheet I have. And on this spreadsheet, I have an EMOM tab, I have a metcon tab, I have an AMRAP tab, I have a pre-open conditioning tab, I have an interval tab, I have a heavy workout tab. I have all these different tabs of workouts I've collected over time, and I don't even remember where they're all from. Things I follow regularly, I follow CAP, the CrossFit affiliate programming. I like a lot of their workouts. I think as a whole, their program would not be enough compared to what you guys are used to. I often plug in a CAP workout and then plug in additional strength afterwards, since we usually do strength after the metcon, because just some of the days, I don't think for a lot of us it's as much as you guys are used to on a day in, day out basis. I take workouts from CrossFit Linchpin, which is Pat Sherwood. I love a lot of his stuff. He does classic CrossFit programming. I take workouts from Bill Grundler. I'll be honest, I tone down a lot of Bill Grundler's workouts. Even though Bill's a few years older than me, he is a little bit of a freak. Good on him, but I like his creativity with how he combines lifts. He does some really unique stuff. I really like them, but a lot of times I end up tailoring his a little bit, so I think they're attainable for a larger portion of our demographic. I take a lot of interval workouts from Mayhem. I know that's something Mayhem is focused on, is doing interval workouts. They've got some really creative ideas. So these are places I end up taking workouts from. So I'll do the strength day, and then I'll pull from my spreadsheet 2 to 4 workouts for that week. Then once I've got that as a whole, then I've got anywhere from 2 to 4 days left in the week. And then those I usually make myself as well. Because now, based on what I've plugged in with these workouts I took from my spreadsheet, Now only certain things are going to fit in between that. And I may create one again. I may plug in a classic hero or named girl WOD from CrossFit. There can be a lot of ways to do that, but usually I do the strength day, then I take from my spreadsheet. So those are workouts usually other people have created. And then I finish the week with what fits into that week based on what the workouts are that I just plugged in. And a lot of that has to do with, of course, what we did the week before and the week before that and what we're doing next week. And this is a classic example. We have 2 EMOMs this week. You're not going to see another EMOM till after Thanksgiving. So for almost a month, you're not going to see another one. So enjoy these this week. But that is because I thought last week was a pretty hard week. All the way from Monday to Sunday, depending on what days you came. There was a lot going on last week. I know there was a lot of lasting soreness. I know I felt it all the way through yesterday. Today was the first day I'm like, all right, I've worked a lot of that out based on yesterday's sled pulls. But I know I heard a lot of moaning and groaning from people that last week beat people down. And so that's where, if you just came to the gym this week and did the workouts, you might be like, man, they're not doing enough metcons. Or this isn't that tough because of the 2 EMOM days. If you came last week, you might be like, this isn't sustainable. I can't do this all the time. But that's why you need to take a broader look at any program and kind of ride it out for a while. So you know what you're getting a taste of. Because it is not just that day, that week, those 3 days. It is that week in context with the week before and the week after. And let me say about EMOMs, EMOMs are the perfect time to work those movements that will then, we talk about threshold training. And threshold training is how hard can I go with my heart rate and with the weight where my form is only breaking down to a level that's still acceptable. You're not going to have perfect form. I'm doing power cleans, I'm doing overhead squats, I'm doing pull-ups, I'm doing handstand push-ups, whatever the case may be. How fast can I go on those movements? I'm doing a bunch of hang squat cleans. How heavy can I go on those movements? And my form is still acceptable where I'm not going to injure myself. Might not be perfect, but I'm going through full range of motion and I'm hitting it. EMOMs are where you're going to work those movements where you're not as under time constraints, where you can get more efficient on the ski erg today. Or those shoot throughs we're doing. Those are going to make your muscle ups, your dips, your push-ups all better down the road in the next metcon. So it's the step-ups we're doing today. Doing those step-ups really efficiently where you make that one side stronger, you learn the balance, you learn how to rotate your feet off the ground. So in the next workout, you can keep a little bit faster pace, whether it's with weight or without, still hitting full range of motion and still doing the movement right. So EMOMs are a great way. They're not going to kill you as much as a metcon, but you work those movements and you get a little more efficient with them. If you're doing it right, you're putting thought into what am I working right now? How can I do this a little smoother? So the next time in the metcon, when your brain's turned off, your body's had a chance to practice that and it can just go automatically and you have better form. So that's where EMOMs are so effective. And because last week was a little bit of a beatdown, I rarely throw in 2 EMOMs in 1 week, but you guys know I do it occasionally. It's usually after a really hard week. And I did it this week because I'm like, this will give us a chance, still work out, still get some good moving in, get the heart rate up a little bit, still work our strength and stamina and skill. But in a sense, it's not like a full deload week, but it's a chance to take a little bit of a breather because yesterday was tough, tomorrow's going to be tough, Friday's going to be tough. But throwing in those EMOMs so you can work those movements and head off down into the future a little bit more skilled and efficient as an athlete. So that's where I combine all this stuff together. So on any given week, I would say 2 to 4 of the workouts are frankly probably somebody else's workouts. And I may remember whose they are, I may not. They're from my spreadsheets. And so then 3 to 5 of the workouts are my own on any given week too. And as I said, even if it's Bill Grundler's, I may have gotten the idea from him or I may have gotten the idea from Mayhem on an interval. I might change the time frame. I might change the weights. I might alter the reps a little bit. So I like the format of it, but I want to fit it specifically to our group. And so that's how I combine all that together. So I'm never afraid or ashamed to admit, that one I didn't create. I got it from so-and-so. Because it's how the pieces fit together. And as a programmer, It is the never-ending goal of creating the perfect week within the perfect month, within the perfect quarter, within the perfect year. How do all the pieces fit together perfectly on that program where it was the most effective with just the right amount of work that got everybody sore and tired when it should and allowed people to recover a little bit when it should, and everybody got more skilled and stronger and got a better engine. I'm never going to create the perfect month or quarter, but I'm never going to stop trying. And so that's where all these pieces fit together on that. So a fairly quick one on this subject, but I thought it was a good time to do it, comparing last week to this week. And I'd gotten a question recently about one of the workouts. Did you come up with that one, or was that somebody else's? And I was like, I know it was somebody else's, but I honestly don't remember whose it was. And I want to give credit where credit is due every time, and that's why I was listing a lot of the common sources I use. But yeah, I will take claim for it is my program, and I take a great deal of pride in that it is my program. All the pieces within it were not all originated by me. And nowadays, with all the programming out there, I would suspect if anyone's honest, they would have to say the same thing. Because we're all pulling from the same basic strength principles. We all know certain movements that fit together well and certain movements that are a little redundant. All that kind of stuff is what you learn when you're doing this all the time. And you got to have a love for it, because the devil is in the details. And if you're just half-assing it, you're robbing your people that are trusting you to make them as fit as possible. All right, right on. Let me know what you think.